Okay, welcome back to another episode of Prep Radio, and Tom Blackman with Paul Scarborough. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm okay, and true to form, it has been at least a month since we last did a podcast.
If we said it was 2 weeks, when people randomly listen to it, they may think that it's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. I know it's a long time, so maybe we should make this one good for a change. I'm not sure about that.
Oh,
okay. So we asked for. Sorry, I jumped the gun then. We obviously Prep the series has been
that, my friends, is Alzheimer's. What you been up to? You can't just go into it. What's this going into this thing?
I thought it would be like professional and stuff.
Yeah, well, I can pretty much guarantee you people don't listen to this podcast because it's professional.
No, it is amateur level, isn't it? Okay, yeah, okay. So what have we both been up to? Paul, you go first if you can remember back more than a week.
Says you. I've been up to lots and lots of things.
Have you got it written down so you can say?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. No. It's been a good start for 2022. To be fair, just really busy, quite busy with coaching actually. I've had quite a few inquiries, and I've taken on a couple of clients, which is really good. And the clients have been down the trend that we talked about last year. About I now have really about 25% competitors and 75% normal men and women who know how to train but are a little bit confused or a lot confused about nutrition. So that's, as you know, that's the way that I'm going, sort of thing. So that was really good. I joined obviously Tears of Freedom, thanks to you, which for those who don't know what Tears of Freedom is it's a course. Yeah,
it's ran by Jason Greystone, who is a very successful market trader, and it basically teaches you how to be financial free by doing trading and investing properly. There's a lot more.
I was going to say, I suppose saying it was a course is probably doing it no credit. But we do hopefully intend to get Jason on the podcast.
Yeah, he's keen to come on. Yeah,
he's keen to come on. So so you will get to know him. But basically, Tom got me involved with that. So I've been doing that, which is really good. And just and the other week I celebrated 4 years kidney strong, as they call it in my circles. So basically, it's 4 years since I had my kidney transplant, which is really cool. The average length of a transplanted kidney is around about, I believe it's around about 8 to 12 years. All right. So 4 years is going strong. Especially seeing my actual kidney, obviously, is not a whole one. It's 3/4 of one now because of my really good luck when it comes to health. But making it 4 years is really good. So yeah, that was cool. That's it really. What about you?
Competing again then?
Pardon?
When you're competing again?
When am I going to compete again?
Yeah.
Well,
because you can take turn now.
When me and my wife get divorced, because if I say I'm going to compete again, she's gonna divorce me and throw me out the house, probably chop bits off me.
But you'll still have your bodybuilding.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, she's got this. Anybody who watches Prep the series will understand Jen's hatred of competing bodybuilders by now. So that's good. How about you? What have you been up to?
Yes, it's been okay because if people don't know who listen to this, I have the gym as well as my coaching business, and the gym has thankfully recovered and then some from lockdown, and it was always unknown territory coming back out of lockdown, and obviously December everyone thought we were going back into lockdown. So I had to put in contingency plans for what happened if the gym did go into lockdown again. So yeah, it was interesting couple of months really, because I had to put in all these plans and what we were going to do and what I was going to do my coaching if gyms shut and everything else. And they didn't shut. So all that planning was to waste, but I've still got it as a plan just in case it ever happens again. But I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, it seems to be everyone's come out of lockdown with a new vibrance for health and fitness. And the gym's actually been busier than we've ever been, even before lockdown. So that's quite nice to see. And during lockdown, when the first one, when I revamped the gym, me and my partner Curtis had a look at the business plan, and we totally revamped the business plan to appeal to a different type of customer. Because while Ministry started off as a bodybuilding gym, basically because I wanted a gym where I could train how I wanted to, that's why I opened it. Obviously, I don't do bodybuilding competition anymore, and also bodybuilding gyms are notoriously difficult to make decent money on, especially one the size of Ministry, because it's massive. So we looked at bringing in different types of customers and still keeping the bodybuilding. We still have all that equipment, but we focused a bit more on the classes and doing more HIIT classes and weight classes and coaching for small group coaching for people. And it seems to have worked. We've got a really good crowd and actually more members than we've ever had. So that's really good. Yeah, all good. Coaching wise, all good. Oh, went to Egypt for holiday a little while ago, which was awesome. Yeah, so everything's going nicely. I have launched another business, but I don't want this podcast to be a pitch for my businesses or whatever. It's called Tools for Coaches.
No, it's not going to be.
Sorry?
It's not going to be.
No, it's not. It basically is providing diet plans for coaches who don't like writing diet plans.
Oh,
if you want to know about that,
you meant the dwarf. I thought you meant the dwarf stripper program.
Oh, do you know what? Someone, and it probably was you, managed to get me invited to all the dwarf hire events, hire companies. So I've had about, I think, 6 or 7 invites to join the groups.
Genuinely, that is the best thing I've ever heard.
If it was you, well played.
I really honestly wish it was me, but it wasn't. Which saddens me because I didn't think of it, but excites me that someone else would give you that much shit as much as I would.
Yeah, I opened my Facebook one morning and it was just invites to like, that you can hire a dwarf to come to get like handcuffed to you for like a bachelor party and whatever else, and like the stuff you see on the Wolf of Wall Street, that sort of thing. Well, apparently there's lots of those companies, and somehow I got invited to all those, and yeah, it's just I'd say delete.
Awesome. I'm really sad that I never thought of that.
It's probably one of my other like real mates trolling me, so I'll find out who it is. And but yeah, that was it was annoying, but it was quite funny as well. It's like, well played.
It's a small list.
Yeah.
So, and also the other big news, COVID's gone.
Well, apparently, because now we've got a war, so COVID's just disappeared.
Yeah, we've traded it in, and now I don't think you're allowed to test even.
No, the test. I think the test you have to pay for at the end of March. But for some reason, and let's not turn this into like a COVID podcast, but it was interesting that now you don't have to do a PCR test if you test positive, and then the next week, look, all the cases have gone down. Well, funny that.
When obviously, me and Tom talk a lot about what we're going to put in the podcast, and obviously the main structure of it is normally nutrition based or training or health and fitness, that sort of thing. But we also like to keep it current, and I must admit, I was never a like 5G created it or any of those conspiracy theorists or stuff like that. But I must admit for anybody that's out there that totally denied and ignored those that said he was controlled by the media, all you have to do is turn your TV on now, because it doesn't exist. Apparently there are no cases. There is no one in the hospital. There is, and I've got to say that after 2 years of it being rammed down your throat on every single news program, it is nice not for it to be rammed down your throat, but obviously we got the war now, which is obviously not great. But
I think
again,
there's an element of there about pushing the agenda. They've got nothing else to talk about, so we have to just keep talking about that.
Well, that's it. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and he was like over Christmas, it was all COVID, and the media interviewing seemed like every single person that had someone in hospital or died when a party was going on in the Conservative arena head office. And now it's the news sticking a mic in front of every Ukrainian that's got some family in the world. It just doesn't seem to be varied, if you see what I mean. It's terrible what's happening, but we digress.
Yeah, we've actually at least one of the members at ministry has gone to fight in the Ukraine.
Wow.
Because he's Ukrainian, and we also have a Russian staff member who just absolutely hates what's going on. So it's interesting to see it from that side of it as well. I can't. Do you know what I mean? When I say it's always on the news, it's not that I don't care. It's just that I'm just like, I don't want to see it. There's one thing we can joke about cases and COVID and stuff like that, but I just don't want to see places being bombed. I don't want to see families getting ripped apart, all the time. So, but the other good news is we've released. We re-released Prep the Series.
Yeah. So it's currently on Tom's YouTube, which is
Tom Blackman on.
Oh, pardon?
Just search Tom Blackman on YouTube.
All right, there you go. And we're releasing one episode every 2 weeks. The first episode was what day was it? It was a week ago, wasn't it?
28th of February.
Right, there you go, 28. And the next one is next Monday.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, it's probably 2 weeks ago, because it takes me a little while to get the podcast out. So by now, episode 3 is probably out.
So the plan is we're going to release a series of prep. And then the week after we release it, we're going to do a podcast. And we're going to take any questions that the preppers calls created for the new sort of class of people. I say class, but group of people that haven't seen prep when it was first released in 2015. So we've just decided to do it, really. There's lots of reasons why we decided to do it. It's free, so obviously cash is not one of the reasons.
No.
But it's on Tom's at the moment. It will be on my YouTube next week. I've just got to set that up. I'm a little bit behind with it. But that's we got some good feedback from the first one, didn't we? From people who have, well, a mix. I certainly did. I got a mix from people that have seen more and just love to watch it again and thought it was great and stuff like that. And then people who have never watched it before just saying how great it is. And I think you said it before we released the first one, Tom, that it was either you or another friend of mine that was saying about we were the trailblazers. So now there's lots of prep sort of documentaries, going around that people are doing and whatever. Yeah. But Prep the Series was the first,
there wasn't there wasn't one like it before. It was all, everyone did the Road to Olympia stuff. It was all like a DVD, and originally that's what we pitched to James, wasn't it? And then he came back and said, "Oh, let's do it as a series, 6 or 7 episodes."
Yeah, and it works. So if you have seen it, if you listen to the podcast, and you haven't seen it, as in you didn't see it the first time and you didn't know we've re-released it, pop onto Tom's YouTube between now and Monday, and you can see the first episode. It'll be on my YouTube at the weekend, and then the second episode will be posted up on Monday, and it will continue then every 2 weeks for the episodes we have. And it'll always be there. You keeping it always up there, aren't you, Tom?
Yeah.
So,
because it's good, I think, as well, because obviously Luke is in it, and that hit us both a bit hard when that sad news about Luke. So it's also a nice testament to him, and the other people who were there as well. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. For those that haven't seen it and want to see it, you got to look forward to. We train with James Llewellyn. We train with Lindsay Bruce. We train with Luke Sal, rest in peace, which was a very, very good episode. And it was before Luke really became, the global name he was. And it's really good to watch because you see Luke as Luke, as Luke was always, sort of thing. So yeah, we've got some really great people in there, it's Phil Lerney makes an appearance, so it's really good, and it's very open, and my wife Jennifer makes a couple of appearances and really hit a strong note with a lot of guys, partners and stuff, because she was very honest about the mental toll that it takes on the family and stuff like that. So again, if watch it with your missus, watch it with your don't watch it with your kids. Tom swears a lot. Yeah, Tom swears a lot. So
do you know what? Do you know what's when and listeners might not know this, and you might not know this, Paul, because me and James discussed going through the episodes and just pulling out all Paul's C-bombs and just making a montage of Paul going all the way through, and it would have given us about half an hour of footage, but we didn't actually get around to doing it.
So wrong. It's so incorrect.
I might still do it as a birthday present for you.
People who have watched it will realize that most of them was aimed at Tom. So what we've both done is we've asked for some questions. So you've got some there, Tom, haven't you, that are for both of us?
Yeah, I've got some questions and also some topics. So let me just pull up questions. Okay, so questions. So Andrew Herft, who's one of my one-to-one clients, you can see his awesome story on my testimonials. He said, what do you now know about training and nutrition that you both wish you knew more about at the time to make the journey better and or easier, and why? So what do we know now that if we'd known when we were competing, it would have made competing easier?
You go first.
Yeah, okay. So when we did prep the series, I think I was just about doing my research and starting my journey in terms of my evidence-based nutrition knowledge. Now, I had obviously from many years competing and making lots of mistakes, knowledge about nutrition, but I think at the time of doing prep the series, I'd only just about started doing my studying, and actually I think I enrolled on the ISSN course I think it was just after we finished the whole documentary.
I think it was the September of, wasn't it?
Yeah, because obviously I couldn't do that while I was dieting. So I was doing more knowledge and research, but I think because interestingly, a few years after we did prep the series, I did a photo shoot, and it was sort of to show that you could get into good shape without like restrictive dieting and basically all the stuff I teach my clients. People go, oh, yeah, that's all right, Tom, to say that, but you always used to do restrictive diets when you were competing. Like, okay, no problem. I will do a diet based on what I teach. And I did it, and I did a photo shoot. And if you Go back in my Instagram, that you'll see some of the photos. And if I'd known that when I was competing, I think my diets would have been more varied. My exercise selection of cardio, etc., would have been more varied. I would have done more intelligent stuff rather than fasted cardio for 45 minutes on the treadmill every day, that sort of thing. But I was on the stepper, actually. So it's all that stuff I think I would have done differently. But also, I think my knowledge of anabolics as well, because obviously when I was doing Prep the Series, I was, I was just using whatever. I think my knowledge now of what I've achieved with actually very minimal, because I'm not going to stand there and say I'm a natural guy, because I'm not. But my use now is so low. It's just like a TRT dose compared to what I was using when I was competing. But I've still managed to maintain a very good physique through nutrition, training, and then the icing on the cake, which is the tiny bit of gear I use. If I was going back now, I would probably use less than what I was using at that. And I wasn't using loads then compared to what other people were using, apparently. But I still think I would use less to take less of a toll on my body. So those are the things. I think with experience and knowledge comes the fact that you don't need to do the extremes. So I think that would be for me.
I think for me, although it's a bit of a boring answer, but I think pretty much the same. I was, I always listen to my body. And it's sort of a saying now, a cliche now. Oh, listen to your body. But I genuinely would try some really extreme things to see if my body would react. And I know I wish I relied more on my body's ability to use carbohydrates for their reason for using them, as in energy and fullness and stuff. Because I didn't. I shied away from them. And my diet was not varied at all, just like yours, Tom. It was a typical bodybuilder's diet. There was probably about 5 or 6 foods really that I ate on a daily, weekly basis. And I could have, it's not about eating crap or anything, but I could have made it so much more varied and enjoyed it more. I definitely think that would have changed. I would have enjoyed it more. I seem to, whenever I competed, I used to get into a mode that it was sort of like I couldn't be happy because I had to, go down to the extremes that everybody thought you needed to get down to. And you see it now on social media. People are like, oh, yeah, so-and-so, he didn't get ripped because he doesn't go into the dark place and whatever. And essentially, people don't get ripped because they don't eat within their calorific, restrictive plan. But it doesn't mean that plan has to be chicken and rice, or chicken and broccoli. It can be many different things. And I think that is something that would have made that whole journey a little bit more fun. I had fun, and we had a scream with prep, but it may have took the toll off my family a little bit more. And the same with cardio. I actually did very little on that one. And at the start, and I think I realized afterwards and now that I would use the cardio to complement my training. And I probably tried to lift as heavy as I possibly could for the lowish ends of reps than what I do now, which is whenever I train, I stick to 12, 15 reps and I lift the heaviest my body can take at the moment because of injuries. But between prep and before my health issues in 2017, I upped my rep range just to 12 to 15 and just felt and looked so much better, So I guess my approach to training would have changed. And like you, my approach to nutrition to some degree would have certainly changed to help me realize I could use things like, the devil's food, carbohydrates sort of thing. So I think, like you said, it's just the stuff we've learned, the stuff we now know to be true, and how it could help you on that, because I apply my methods now to competing bodybuilders, and they get into superb shape, and all of them without exceptions, like, God, I can't believe I'm eating this food or this variety of food, and I'm still coming in like this and stuff like that. And I think if I would have realized that, if I'd have understood that back then, it probably would have been a better time for, in general sort of thing,
I think you're right there in terms of, obviously part of what we both teach is that the process needs to be enjoyable. And while bodybuilding prep is never going to be 100% enjoyable ride, because you do have to go to certain extremes. You do have to go to a place where, especially in the last couple of weeks, to get that really down. You've got, unfortunately, to get extremely ripped, you have to go to extremes. But working your way up to that, I think some people go too hard too soon. And I think you say that in episode 2, actually, about how I was pushing myself harder. And I was, because obviously we were filming, and I was like, well, there's no bloody way that I'm not looking good on camera. So I was always, making sure I was put ahead of the game or whatever. But yeah, I think I did push myself a little bit too hard. And, and I didn't, although I enjoyed the filming and stuff like that, again, it was one of those diets where, I couldn't wait for it to be over at the end of it. And although I didn't pig out massively like I have in previous shows, because I did have more knowledge than when I competed previously, there was still a bit of that at the end. So yeah, I think the enjoyment can be made. You can enjoy the process better with more knowledge, I think.
I think so. Without a shadow of a doubt, I look back and I see the mistakes I made, and that's not to say that the outcomes would have been different or whatever, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And my knowledge now is much more evidence-based, and I'm very big on application. So I don't take evidence-based information solely on the fact that it's evidence-based, because you've got to apply it to the real world. And it's the application in the real world that actually makes the difference.
It's what's called evidence-informed, isn't it? Rather than evidence-based, evidence-informed practice.
Yeah. So, it's the application. I think my opinion of the evidence-based crowd slating sort of the bro bodybuilding.
You got crowd. Both ends, didn't you? You got bro people you've got evidence doesn't work, and then evidence people here going, don't do those bro things, and really it's in the middle where you need to be.
And it is, and that's where it's wrapped up with the application in the real world. It's okay saying you've got, to get the most out of protein, you've got to have a teaspoon of protein every 2 seconds, but the application of that in the real world is is not feasible. So you've got to come to a central ground with it. But yeah, generally I think it's what we said about knowledge and just overall thing for that one. Okay,
next. Amaro, one of my clients in Miami, asked me this. He said, I'm just going to read from the text that he hasn't sent me. Said, Tom, I really think you're good on the podcast, and Paul does drag you down a little bit, but it's good that you carry it well. Can you ask him why he said in the other podcast why he said drink more water is one of the main things you'd advise people to do? Keep up the good work. Okay. And that's what he wrote.
And who's that from?
That's Amaro, my client in Miami.
Amaro. Right. Amaro, it's obviously that you're being subjected to some sort of mind control from Tom. And did you know you can actually employ a better coach for less money? You can message me through Instagram, Team PScarb, at any time. Right. Okay. The reason I said that for one of my tips that I would drink more water is plainly because people just don't. People don't realize. They either don't realize how important hydration is, or they don't understand how dehydrated you can be without thinking you're dehydrated. You know, hydration is a very important thing for me now because of my kidney status. It was an important thing for me while I competed because it was a requirement, you know. But between competing and everybody who's listening to this that competes will totally be nodding their heads here. I would hit the hydration requirements when I was in competition mode. And then as soon as I came out of it and I was in the off season, so to speak, then my hydration went right down, you know. And I believe, knowing what I know now about the important role that hydration has with the gut, with muscle, with strength, with fat loss, with sleep, and all these things, with health organ, you know, your organs and stuff like that. Knowing what I know now, I would put hydration as one of the top 3 things that I made sure that I covered every single day, you know. And I just think that a lot of people just don't, and they would get better progress, better gains, be it muscle or strength, if they just, you know, made hydration one of the priority things on a day-to-day basis. Really, it's just too important to not do, and a lot of people don't do it.
Okay,
if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay,
so there you go.
And last one on my list, Matt Partington, one of my good mates.
One of our good mates. He actually likes me more than you.
Yeah. He's my mate, just knows you through me.
No, he speaks to you because I told him to.
Okay, so based on your knowledge, experience, and professional judgment, is there a specific amount of volume that you'd recommend across a week for one body part, e.g., quads equal minimum amount of X amount of sets and max amount of sets? Appreciate it's highly subjective and there might not be right or wrong, just interested in both of your views. And does this differ given a variable such as an athlete on PEDs versus natural? And the reason he's asked this is because I did a YouTube video the other day where I talked about being in the zone, which was I said there were 3 zones. There's the comfort zone, which is sub 30% of 1 rep max. You've got the ego zone, which is over 80%, bad form, ego lifting, injury prone, and then the progress zone, which is between 40 and 80%. And that's been sort of backed up, supported by recent studies, which have shown that you don't have to go to maximal weight to build muscle. You don't have to go to absolute failure to build muscle. And if you're in that 40 to 80% range and you're taken to failure with a decent amount of reps, you can still build muscle safely or more safely. The trade-off there is you're not going to get as strong because you're not training for strength, but you will get stronger as a result of having more muscle. So that's why the questions come about.
I think I read that same study as you, actually. I think the numbers were, because they talked a lot about rep ranges, and I think the numbers were, if you solely after strength, you would get some hypertrophy, but solely after strength, I think it was 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 reps. And then if it was hypertrophy as your main goal, where strength would be a secondary goal, it was 6 to 30. I'm sure it was 6 to 30 and not 8 to 30.
Yeah, I think there's a number of studies I looked at. I even got I asked Lee Hamilton to send me his study because it was behind a paywall about a minimum requirement for muscle hypertrophy, because he's really good on signaling.
I thought that was 30% of 1 RM.
Yeah, so that's where that progress zone comes from. So it's a number of studies that I read which gave me that. I just basically did an article on it and a video, and it was a few studies I'd read had given me that data.
Yeah, I saw one by Brad Schoenfield, and it was, the conclusion was exactly what you just said there, as in you don't have to lift heavy weights, where everybody believes you have to lift stupidly heavy weights
Not
you know,
everybody,
to
but
gain.
a lot of people in gyms.
Well, yeah, to be honest, a lot of newbies and intermediates to the sport do. And I explained to one of my clients probably a couple of months ago now that when we were talking about failure, we were talking about momentary muscular failure, not so you can't actually breathe or talk or whatever, you know, it's and you know, that can be achieved up to 30-ish reps, as long as the studies have shown, as long as the actual weight that you're using was no less than 30% of your 1RM. Now, I did say that if you try to do that, probably endurance would probably be the issue for you.
It's a long workout, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well. So, right, okay. So getting back to Matt's question, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I suppose my answer to this is going to be both evidence informed, but also my own experience. And I think what you've got to apply here is, and something I say to all my clients and everybody else I talk to is, when you go into a workout, knowing what you're trying to achieve in that workout, but also when you're going into any exercise within that workout, what are you trying to achieve with that exercise at that time in that workout? Example, you talk about quads. Okay, so let's talk about squats. So I'll do workouts where I do high volume squats and I'll superset it with leg press. Right. I'll also do workouts where I do heavy squats and I'll superset it with leg press. Now, what I'm trying to do in the first example is, like the other day I did front and rear squat superset. And then I went and did leg press. Now, the idea there was to just basically overload the muscle with volume. Now, I wasn't able to lift as much weight, obviously, because front going into rear squats, you're going to be lifting less on the rear squat. But there's something called the redundancy principle, which Lee Hamilton's talked about a few times in a different, he calls it something different, but the body has redundancies. And, you know, if you're doing a really heavy leg session, you can still walk out of the gym, but you couldn't do more legs because you're just completely fatigued. You've still got glycogen, you've still got muscles, fibers that can walk you out of that gym. Even marathon runners, when they finish a marathon, they collapse at the end of the marathon. When they've done biopsies, there's still glycogen within those muscles. So the body has a redundancy factor. And how this applies to bodybuilding is that with bodybuilding, we're trying to stimulate as many muscle fibers as possible to get that muscle protein synthesis stimulus so that the muscle grows, the muscle adapts and grows. And that is, you've got to think about, if your goal is growth, is muscle growth, you've got to think about, that's my goal, that's what I'm going to prioritize. And this is why when I talk about the ego zone, people are going into the ego zone trying to build muscle. So they're not aligned. You know, the ego zone, if you want to get stronger, well, then the ego zone, although I call it the ego zone, is actually, that's where a lot of powerlifters and strength athletes are for their 1 to 2 rep maxes, but they lift with, you know, as good as form as they can. But the problem is people who aren't powerlifters or strength athletes, they're trying to build more muscle. So they go in and try and lift as much weight as possible, incorporating a bodybuilding rep principle. And that's where they get injured, because then they're going into the set thinking, I want to get strong and I want to build more muscle. And the two aren't aligned in that situation.
No.
Whereas if you're a bodybuilder, you say, my priority as a bodybuilder is to build muscle. And I saw a really good post by Matt Tofton about this the other day. And someone asked him about, does he do squats or whatever? And sorry if I've misquoted here, but he was like, I don't really do squats because they don't activate my quads as much. I'm a bodybuilder, so I think it was like leg press and some squat machine or something. But he does exercises that activate the muscle properly that he's trying to target. And that's the principle that bodybuilders should have. And there's this ego thing about, oh, I've got to squat, I've got to do a bar squat because everyone, if I'm a man, I have to do bar squats or whatever. And you really don't, because no one outside the gym cares if you do that or not.
Famously, Dorian actually said the same as what Matt said, basically, is that he did squat and then he found that squatting just wasn't aligned with his body, how his mechanics were. And he found that leg press was. So he did leg press, you know.
Yeah.
As you know, I was paralyzed in the 90s, so I was unable to do squatting, and obviously leg press suited me really well, and that's how I built my legs. It was always funny to me being quoted on the net in forums back then, actually, that you can't build good legs without squats, and then I would put up a picture of my legs, which were very good without squats. But I agree with you. People need to stop doing lifts and exercises that is purely to say that they can lift X amount, and actually do the exercises that actually are better for your body to get that growth, to get that muscle growth. Because, you know, for the size I was, you know, I once topped the scales in 2010 and 11 at 17 stone. You know, I was quite well. I wasn't strong for my size. You know, I could only bench 2.5 plates, you know, which is not weak, but for my muscular size, people expected me to be able to do more. You know, I was never a big arm curler, you know, compared to some people, because strength was never my main concern. So,
So I think we've gone away from the question a little bit on both of our rants, but I think what I would say to that, Matt, is that Matt Partington, is that you've got to pick the rep range that suits what you're trying to accomplish at that point. I'll do 10 reps on leg press sometimes. I'll do 20 rep. There's even a video on me on YouTube doing 70 reps on like 240 kilos, 280 kilos or something. That was 2 weeks before a show. That was again to sort of like stick it to people who said, "Oh, you can't do that before a show." But it was at that time, that weight for me was not a max weight. I could smash that. Okay, 70 reps was tough. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I was lifting double that, like on the normal, well, nearly double that on a normal leg press for 10. But that volume was literally to get that redundancy principle. But there's also times I'll do a heavy leg press because I was trying to stimulate more strength. But I knew exactly what I was going to do when I went into that. And as regards to how many sets you need, well, I would say probably, it depends on where you are on the workout, but probably 1 to 2 warm-up sets is the wrong thing to say, but it's like 1 to 2 to test the exercise to see how strong you are that day. And then 2 working sets where you do 1 set where you're sort of like, okay, let's see what I can do. And then on that 3rd set, you would gauge the 4th set and see what you would do on that. Sometimes I would get on the 4th set and go, actually, I could do a bit more here. So I'd go for number 5. So it's not it has to be 3, it has to be 4. I think you've got to gauge through the set or through the sets how you are and what you can get out of it. And if someone, even if it's on, and I tell my clients this, it says 4 sets on the, you know, do 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps or whatever. But I say to them, look, you know, if you think you can do 5 sets and you can get 20 reps, well, then crack on, because that's a high volume set. That's a high volume exercise. When it's got 5 to 10 reps, that's obviously a strength one. You're looking to stimulate more strength, so you would have more weight on. So there's no hard and fast rule here. But as a bodybuilder, you've got to be thinking, what am I accomplishing by this? Am I accomplishing increasing my strength? Am I accomplishing increasing my muscle? And 9 times out of 10, I would say you need to be thinking about, is this increasing my muscle if you are a bodybuilder? Because if you've got more muscle, you will, as a byproduct, get stronger. And if you've got more muscle and you're repping out more reps, you're going to be burning more calories and potentially stimulating more total load in the set, as in 10 reps of 100 versus 30 reps of 90, for example. You know, you get more volume of weight lifted, and that stimulates potentially more muscle fibers. So you've got to think about that. It's not just, I'm going to get in and lift as much as I can for as many reps as I can. That's an injury way of thinking. It's thinking about, what am I trying to accomplish? Am I trying to get volume? Am I trying to get strength, whatever? And then that's what you do for that set. And you focus on getting that and engaging the muscle.
Obviously, I'm not too far away from your way of thinking. We are very similar in a lot of things. I do think I read a paper I think it was by Brad again. I read a lot of his stuff, and they showed that there was on a weekly, rather on a workout basis or on a daily basis, but a weekly basis, a rough number for hypertrophy on larger body parts, more high volume body parts like chest and even shoulders and back and legs and stuff like that, was around about 16 to 22 working sets a week. And a bit less than that for, arms and biceps, traps and things, around about the 10 to 13 working sets a week. And
to be clear, talking about working sets, not working sets. That's why people get tied up. It's like working sets means where you're actually trying to get to failure and stimulate the muscle fibers, not the warm-up sets.
No. But I do think that people do warm-up sets wrong as well. Let me get onto that in a minute. But so that those were the numbers, and there's enough of a range there to suit anybody, so it's not 22. There it is, 22. It's 16 to 22, so obviously there is and this is what slightly annoys me with people that go, what's your number? What do you do it as? What, you 20, 22? Because one week I might be great and I do 22 heavier working sets for back, and then the next week I can only manage 17 or 18. It all depends on me, my external influences through the week and whatever. So my philosophy on training is to normally my workouts are pushed to the 12 to 15 workout rep range per working set, and I like to do that because I just think it challenges the muscle more, and it's I think it's a myth that's been dispelled long ago that I see it on groups a lot, where people go, what's the best rep range, and people go 8 to 12, and
at 13,
I think Brad,
you just lose muscle.
7, nah. But I think Brad pushed that and basically said,
and it's always
So the way I train and the way that I instruct my clients is to lift the heaviest weight they can lift for the required rep range. All right. So if I've got a client that's doing barbell curl, and the rep range I've given him is 8 to 12. So I want him to use a weight that he can get at least 8 reps with. If he gets 6 or less, it's too heavy. And if he gets 14 or more, it's too light. So the rep range is 8 to 12. So he wants to get in there. Now, let's say he uses 20 kilos and he gets 9 reps. So he will stay on that weight until he can get 12 reps with that weight. Once he's achieved 12 reps, he will then raise that weight so he can only get 8 reps with a new weight. And again, apply the knowledge that if you get in 6 or less, it's too heavy. So lighten it to get 8 to 12. If you're stopping at 12 because you've hit a number, or you're continuing past 14, then that weight is too light. So I'm very much there isn't a number. I'm not telling you how much to lift. Oh, but can't you tell me what size dumbbells I need? No. Lift as heavy as you possibly can with form, not strict form. I think I'm also one of those people that think strict form is in some ways as bad form, because it can really, restrict your movements. If you look at arm curling, if you do that as a strict form, you're not going to be able to move properly. The dumbbell's going to hit your legs. You're supposed to move how your body can move, So I generally say lift as heavy as you can for the rep range I've given you. And that rep range is normally 12 to 15, 10 to 12, 8 to 10 or 8 to 12. There's normally 3 or 4 in there. And the instruction is generally always increase the weight until the top end of that range, and then use a weight until you can get to the top end of that rep range, and then increase the weight as much as you need to get to the bottom end of that rep range, and then continue to progress, and then just keep that going on loop. So for Matt's question, for me, it sits around about 16 to 22. Now, I don't train a body part once a week anymore, so I'll train it twice. So essentially, I'll go into the gym and say for back, I'll maybe do 12 sets on day 1, and then I might go back in 3 or 4 days later and do anywhere between 5 or 6 to 10 sets for that muscle group. So normally nowadays, because of my shoulder injuries, my last workout of the week is probably a whole body one. So I can do maybe 12 sets of back earlier in the week, and then I can do 4 to 6 sets of my back on the whole body one, thus achieving between that 16 and 22. It's less, normally 10 to 12 for arms, but I just find that's a really nice sweet spot for me. My training's a hell of a lot different now because of my shoulder, because of my injuries and stuff like that. But I'm still able to get into the gym. I do what you have said. When I get into that gym, I know what I want to achieve. I know what I'm training. I know what I'm going to do. The only time it differs is if someone's using a machine or using a piece of equipment that I need to use, and then I'll use best alternative. But it's like tonight, I trained legs. I knew I was going to go in there and I'm going to start pushing and building up my strength in my quads again. Because of various reasons, it's lowered. So I knew I was going to do some one-legged lifts on the leg press, and then do some two-legged lifts, and train in a rep range that I know for myself works. And that's at the lower end for strength for me for legs. So it's more the 10, 12 rep range. But my training has changed massively towards that. I believe you did the higher, more volume stuff before me. But I particularly like to stick around about the 12 to 15 rep range. And one of the reasons for that is because of my injuries, like my shoulders, I just can't press. I just can't lift the way I used to lift. So I have to increase the volume to get the intensity rather than the weight.
Yeah, it's similar. I've got certain knee injuries and certain shoulder issues that prevent me from lifting what I used to live. Obviously, you're not take as much tren either. That does sort of limit it as well. But it's I mean, I'm not trying to actively compete in bodybuilding. I don't need to push the envelope, so I'm very happy to stay within that 40 to 80% range and lift maybe less weight, but still get the muscle stimulus and still maintain them. And I'm still improving my physique now, even though obviously I'm not bodybuilding competition. I'm still improving my physique as a 42-year-old business owner. So it's different mentality because, anyway, we'll go into that. But yeah, I'm quite happy doing that and not getting the trophy of 4 plates on this, 5 plates on that. I don't really care. I like to go into workout and come out and not have my knees and back in a cast for the next 2 or 3 days. That's quite nice.
I have found, I don't know about you, but I have found that people will come to me, and I'm not talking about competitors either. I'm talking about in general. But people will come to me and they'll write down what they train, how they train, things like that. And their rep ranges are 8 to 10, 12 as a maximum. And
it's very much 10 reps, 10 reps on a set, isn't it? 10 reps is it?
Yeah. And I like to then create a workout based on their strengths and their weaknesses that I've gathered from my Q&A and my chat with them and whatever. Yeah. But there's one thing that I always do, and is I increase the rep range to 12 to 15, always. And some people will fight that because in their mind, that's endurance, you know. And
I'm not training for a marathon, Paul.
Yeah. And it's not 8 to 12. So therefore it's not the muscle building thing. And then, to be honest, I like it when they do that, because then it allows me to increase their knowledge of the reason why. And one of the main reasons is you come to me training fine. Yeah, you'll go into the gym and and this is what people do. They get into a rut where they go to the gym and train chest. Might come out next day, back.
50 sets
next day
on chest.
Legs. You know, and it's like they're knackered, they're sweating, they've certainly worked in the gym, but their progression is slowing because it's just boring. They're not challenging themselves.
They're in
and
the
people
comfort
go,
zone.
yeah, but pardon?
They're in the comfort zone.
Well, yeah, exactly.
They don't change anything, and they don't challenge themselves. They comfort.
And it's when they go, what I need is a new workout to shock the muscle. I'm like,
11 reps.
A muscle isn't shocked. It doesn't care. It does what you tell it to do. So the thing is, you're not challenging it. And I know for a fact, 99.9% of the people who come to me will not have done 12 to 15 reps for bench press, or 12 to 15 reps for bent over row. And they'll do it and they'll go, God, that was terrible. I just didn't lift as much, but you didn't lift as much, but you did more reps. So your load for that workout is more than what you've been doing. Oh, yeah. And did you feel it? Oh, I could hardly walk out the gym.
I think that's what some people don't think through is when it's about bodybuilding, again, the redundancy factor, it's not about 5 reps on 200 kilos. You know, it's about 10, 15 reps on 150 kilos. You know, you haven't got the badge of honor that you're the strongest guy in the gym, but you're probably going to be the biggest guy in the gym. And you can just lie. Yeah, I got 200 kilos of 5 reps. Because you look like you can do it.
Yeah, and plus, your shoulders, knees, elbows, wrists, and ankles are all going to thank you. You know, and lower back and stuff.
When I was on the doors years ago, and I was obviously bodybuilding and obviously massive, people used to come up to me and go, "Oh, what do you bench?" And I didn't flat bench because of my shoulder. I had a shoulder injury.
No, did I? Yeah.
I didn't flat bench at all. And I got tired of explaining to people that I didn't. So I just started going, 200 kilos. And they go, really? I went, yeah, look how big I am. And, wow, yeah, that's strong. Well done, mate. And they just fuck off. And I'm like, the guys who used to work on the door, just go, how much is it this week? 220, because a good week.
Yeah, it's because I never benched for the same reason as you did. Every now and again, but I was mainly into incline benching. But because of my lower back injury, I never squatted or did deadlifts. So people would be going, so what can you squat? I was like, I don't squat. So what do you do? I'm like, leg press? Oh, right, okay. Yeah, they'd be like, oh, right, okay. Yeah. And then you see a picture on stage, you're like, wow, you don't squat? Or they'll be like, how much can you deadlift? Nothing. Nothing. Oh, right, okay. But your back's wide. You know, and it's that thing that, you know, if you want to, there's no doubt squatting, benching, deadlifting builds muscle without a shadow of a doubt. But it also, show me one bodybuilder with a torn pec that hasn't done it. The majority of them have done that on flat bench, the majority of them, same with back injuries, and stuff like that. And that's a lot to do with, you mentioned this at the beginning. It's sort of like, right, I'm starting training. What shall I train? Well, you've got to squat.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. But
that's the best exercise.
Yeah, but I'm 7 foot tall. Doesn't matter, squat. Yeah, but wouldn't I be best suited for leg press? No, squat.
There's but when me and Neil were training in the gym, and if you didn't know, listening to this, Neil's 6'7", I think. I can't remember. He's so tall.
He's about 7 foot, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks about 7 foot compared to me. But yeah, he's we were in the gym doing floating deadlifts because I don't do deadlifts on the floor, and a guy come up and said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And Neil was like, "Oh, we're doing deadlifts." He goes, "How do you do deadlifts as because you're so tall?" I mean, me and Neil just looked at each other like, "Is he serious or is he taking the piss?" And he was deadly serious because he was tall as well. He's like, "How do you do deadlifts? You're so tall." It was like, I just pick it up off the floor. It's just such a weird question.
Yeah,
We couldn't
same
get
as
it.
short people. Yeah, same as short people. It's just a longer trip.
Yeah.
So, but essentially for Matt, my training has evolved over the years. From a bodybuilding perspective, towards the end part of my competitive career, I did start messing around, working around with more higher volume, and it allowed me to get more out of my workouts without the risk of injury. As a coach, as I am now, and as a person that trains, because I love the gym and I want to keep going to the gym for no particular reason, really, just to keep my my foot in there, keep some sort of muscle going. I apply methods that work for me, and the method that works for me is to lift a medium weight for higher volume. I can't do any flat bench work or any dumbbell work with my shoulder as bad as it is now at all. So Monday I trained chest, and I used a hammer strength seated press stack, and in my gym we've got prime bench presses, prime incline, Panata stuff. We got proper top level stuff. The only thing I can use is the 10-year-old hammer strength stack seated press, and I had to do 8 sets of 12 to 15 reps for my chest to be hit, to be sore, to be pumped and stuff like that. And that just wouldn't work for most people, but it works for me now because of the state I am in. But on the flip side of that, I went training today and I leg pressed. What did I leg press? 360 kilos.
Oh, do you know what? I saw an advert from Samson, Sam Cornley today, and it was like, no one cares how much you leg press.
I did see
no one cares, Paul.
Yeah, no one cares. Now, I've got one more question.
We've got 10 minutes, so it better not be a long one.
Yeah, that's fine. If you stop talking. I've got one more question, and it's from Joe Cameron PT. And Joe says, what health supplements are in your daily arsenal? So for me,
this is for
Joe,
you. It's like you've got like a list like this because you transplant.
Yeah. I'm assuming, Joe, you don't mean my prescription stuff.
Paul's going to reel off like a million things here. No one's going to go and buy it.
It for me, I use a lot of things that will help with stress and overall health. I'm in a very particular unique situation because of my kidney and heart issues and stuff like that. That obviously, for example, anybody with any signal of CKD, chronic kidney disorder, you've got stages. There's 5 stages. Stage 5 is dialysis, and that's 15 and below. Anybody in stage 1 to 4, I would, without a shadow of a doubt, say to get a supplement with astragalus in it. And a supplement needs one. Jordan trained by JP, does a very good one. I don't use it because it increases, part of it is it increases your immune system. And because I have no immune system, and having a good immune system would mean my transplanted kidney would get rejected, I can't use that. And it's pointless to use if you're in dialysis. All right, it's just not going to help. But anybody above that, that's what I would use. I just wanted to put that out because that would probably be one of the things I would use if I hadn't have had the transplant. I tend to use supplements now that are sort of all-in-ones. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. But nowadays, and I've said this on my Instagram before, nowadays we have got a set of companies in this country that are British born, built, run by British people with amazing results because they use proper dosages with really, really great ingredients. And no one will be surprised that obviously my main one is Strom Nutrition. Richard, who runs Strom, is an amazing guy when it comes to putting supplements together. And he's got some really, really good products. I'm never without Neuromax or their Digestive Max or their Joint Max. I think their products are brilliant. HR Labs are coming out with some really good things. Their Ride On supplement is great if you're having problems getting up.
Just clarify that one, please.
All right. If you're not getting wood in the morning, then Ride On would be certainly something.
What a
Ride On, yeah. But I
with a free
personally spoke to Liam, but Liam also is including in there some stuff for the heart and things like that. It's very, very good. Supplement Needs, again, with Dean St. Mark at the head of their sort of, I don't know what they call him actually, just the pharmacology side of that. They've got some great things. The CV stack is immense. Their sleep stack is brilliant. And in my opinion, anybody who trains with a lot of intensity and has a day job and has a family should really supplement with some sort of sleep product that doesn't just knock you out, that actually enhances your sleep, because it's so important. And I'd also tell people to look at Cardiff Sports Nutrition as well, mainly because Mark Robinson, who runs Cardiff Sports, is a very good friend of mine and Tom's, and is unknown by a lot of people. He has been on the podcast, and we will get him on again. But unbeknown to a lot of people, he is one of the best formulators for supplements in the country. So anything that Mark touches is normally very, very good. And when I'm talking about formulas, I'm talking about supplements, not single ones, but all-in-one ones. And the reason why I mentioned these companies and these people is they value what they sell. And they will look at the actual studies. Ashwagandha, I think I've said that right.
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha
is what you get in the morning.
Yeah, that's what you get from Ride On.
Ride On.
Yeah, and not sure why you went like that, but okay, Tom.
Got a whole
that dwarf job again, isn't it? So essentially, these guys look at the studies that used ashwagandha. Like I said, in the studies that created all the fuss about it, they used 600 milligrams. All right. In the products I've just mentioned, like Support Max, Max Neuro and PM Neuro and a couple of other things, they actually use a dose of 600 milligrams. They don't put it in there at like 10 milligrams and then quote what the study says. So all those people I mentioned, all those supplement companies I mentioned, not only are they British and they're run by British guys, girls, companies, whatever. So we should really be buying theirs anyway. But they are the best in the world, really. And one of the things that makes them the best in the world is the guys that run it, the guys that contribute to their formulas and things like that, actually care and give a shit about you and your health. Yes, it may cost a little bit more money, but believe me, some of the stuff that Supplement Needs has and Jordan has in his range are phenomenal, you know. And same with Strom. You know, I couldn't really be without the stuff I have from Strom. And like I said, HR Labs is coming behind them really. But they've got some really, really good products. I can't really name, you know, like I said, I have those from Strom. I don't have single ones. I do take Berberine every day because I want to come off certain medication that I'm on, you know, and some of the medication I'm on is more of a just in case rather than a cause.
Why are you taking Berberine? Just because there's a few applications.
Well, I take Berberine to help with cholesterol, and that's really only the application I need, only because I've used it in the past and it has done really well. I do normally run it with krill oil, but just in case Mark listens to this, you're always out of fucking stock. All right, so get some fucking in. All right, I normally for cholesterol, I'm trying to come off the statins. All right.
Yeah.
I know krill oil and berberine have helped me in that way before. If I can come off, the more pharmaceuticals I can come off, I just believe to be better. There are some that I can't come off, but I've berberine and krill oil. I've suggested it for other people, and their cholesterol have improved massively. You know, so that's for me. And I
told you to be a list
like
that, even without your drugs.
It's not really. Like I said, I've got in the cupboard the Neuromax, the Digestive Max, and I've just run out actually of the joint supplement. But
that's CBD.
Oh no, it's CBD. Oh, that's a whole different story. Don't get me started on that. Yeah, don't get me started on that. I truly now I'm a fan of CBD. But for the question, it's definitely that. But I know I've ranted on about these companies and stuff, but I think Tom will agree they are run by great guys who really, really have your interests at heart, and you should only purchase from those companies, in my opinion. But what about you, Tom?
Well, I don't use a lot of supplements, and I never have really used a lot of supplements, but I do agree with what you're saying, like Mark, Richard at Strom, Dean. I've not used any of Dean's supplements, but I know they would be top quality. The other one we use the other one I've got in the gym, and I also use their supplements, is a company called Alpha Neon. Really sort of obscure company. I hadn't heard of it before, and the guy
I've never heard of it.
The guy came to the gym. He's one of Neil's buddies. Really knowledgeable guy, and his stuff again is sort of he's in the same sort of vein as like Richard and Mark, and that he knows a lot about the chemicals and the biology and everything else. And he's got some very well thought out products, similar things like heart health, you know, cholesterol, all that sort of stuff. But he's got a sleep product which I use occasionally. I don't use sleep products every day because I don't want to become reliant on a sleep product to go to sleep, as associate that anchoring with I need a sleep product to go to sleep. But I do use it on days where I've had like, you know, a pretty tough day, a stressful day or whatever. That's pretty good. And I also use the Support Max, the joint support and the neuro support from Strom. I think they're very, again, well thought out products. And although I don't really have many issues with my joints, but now I'm more mindful of thinking ahead and protecting in the future. Incidentally, something I was looking at the other day about, a lot of people take glucosamine sulfate for joints, and actually more the research now is looking at maybe it's the sulfate that's the beneficial thing there, not the glucosamine. Just to throw that out there. So maybe glucosamine sulfate's not great for joints, as in the glucosamine. But I also use vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin E, ZMA in the evening for helping restore my zinc levels. Krill oil, fish oils. So it's not loads. I use creatine, of course. I use Strom Sports creatine at the moment. It's got, I think, estrogen in it for more absorption. I've used Mark's products in the past, all good, So yeah, I'd agree with that. And where I can, I try and buy UK products. So we've got Applied Nutrition Whey in the gym. It's something that we've had for a little while. I think they're an English company. I sell Strom products, Mark's when he's got stock, and all these things I try and keep if I can to support the UK. But also, from a business point of view, there is a cost benefit there, because importing from the US is very expensive now, and importing from the EU is expensive. So it makes business sense, as well as sort of national pride, whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, it's also for both me and you. We know Richard, we know Dean, we know. Although I must say, Dean doesn't own Supplement Needs. I just, he's the sort of head formulator. He's got a title. I just didn't read it. But Dean is a friend of the show. We had Dean on a couple of times. He's a great guy. But yeah, Richard, Mark, Dean, even Jordan. I don't know who does Jordan's supplement, formulations and stuff, but again, he is very on the ball with it. And so yeah, that would be it for Joe, who asked that question. Hopefully, it answered your question. So we're going to wrap up now. It's been about an hour and a little bit.
It's gone an hour and a half.
We're gonna wrap up. Tom doesn't like going over. He'll get a right rant on. So
I want to get on the Xbox. I've been playing Assassin's Creed. Absolutely love it. 80 hours in. And the other day,
what I've been doing?
What?
I finally got round to watching Sons of Anarchy.
Ah, excellent.
I'm midway through the second series.
Okay, if you it gets pretty messed up towards the end.
No, I've heard.
You'll love it.
Heard.
And there's actually a spin-off series called Mayans, which is after the end of Sons of Anarchy. That's pretty good as well. That's on Prime, I think.
Oh, I'll have a look at that, because I've got both. So we're gonna wrap up now, everybody. So
hold on.
Hopefully Tom will
just go do a word from us. Have we got time for sponsors?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. It's just a word from our sponsors. Okay, thanks for that. And Paul, what's your Instagram and stuff?
My Instagram and Facebook page and website is all very easy. It's all Team Peace Carb, all one word. And you can reach me on there and give me a shout. Or give me a message or whatever, or inquire about working with me. What about yours, Tom?
Tom Blackman _nutrition on Instagram, website, BK Nutrition, and YouTube. Search Tom Blackman in YouTube. The reason I say that is because if more people type in Tom Blackman in the search term on YouTube, I'll go to higher up the rankings rather than giving you the direct address, because you're searching for it. If you didn't know that as a YouTube hack, there's a hack for you.
Well, and on the next series, I'll remember what my YouTube channel is called and tell everybody about it. Okay, so, right. So we're going to shoot off. Hopefully Tom can get this sorted before next Monday.
I have actually got a VA who does my podcasting stuff for me now, so it should go a lot quicker than it has in the past.
Right. So we're going to be live before the episode 2. So just to remind you, search Tom and whatever my name is on YouTube, I'll sort that out. And the second episode of Prep the Series will be released on Monday the 14th. And then we'll open our doors for messages and things like that, and questions about that and many other things when we next do the podcast, which should be in around about 2 weeks' time.
Okay. Goodbye,
Bye.
Paul.
See you later.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye now.